What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today is going to be the second to last episode of the United Mexican States. We've come a very long way for this series, and I am very proud to see what has become of Mexico. And not after this episode, so not on episode 30, but we will have an extra episode basically just talking about the end of this series, about what's next, but also to review over what we have done for Mexico over the past nearly decade. And I am going to be moving on to the Ethiopia series. So we did have the idea that we were going to do a Saudi Arabia series, but this will be Ethiopia. The reason that I switched from Saudi Arabia to Ethiopia is mainly because Saudi Arabia is extremely dependent on oil. Now, this would become an idea for the series that I wanted to diversify Saudi Arabia's economy. However, whenever it comes to oil and whenever it comes to OPEC prices and oil prices, it fluctuates so wildly in the game that it would become a challenge economically, not in terms of just sheer challenge for the economy, but more so from a gameplay perspective. It would be very restricting, and it would be extremely weird to try to manage, and it would probably involve a lot of cheating on my part. So in order to avoid that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going a little further south, and we're going to be playing as Ethiopia. Ethiopia is pretty diverse demographically, economically. They have a lot of potential. When I'm talking a lot of potential, they have not even industrialized yet. So there is a lot of industrialization potential behind Ethiopia, and as well growing their service-based economy. And also, I would like to embark on some sort of military conquest over Somalia. Somalia would be absorbed into Ethiopia, and then we could have a port to try to start managing some international trade. We would have a lot of potential in East Africa, and this would be the very first African series that I've ever embarked on, and it would definitely be just as long as Mexico. So if you actually know, Mexico is a quarter by quarter episode format. In the Ethiopia series, the development would be taking so long that I could see a 15-year gameplay. Just like we have done about 8 years right now, I could definitely extend it to about 15 to 20 years, mainly because of how long it will take me to industrialize. So I would probably do about a 6-month episode time frame, where each episode of Ethiopia would be taking place over the course of 6 months rather than 3 months, as is with the Mexico series. Without further ado, we are going to go ahead and continue on with Mexico. So we're going to go ahead and play this right now. We are currently 163 days away from the presidential election. This is what we're going to be doing for this final episodes, is that we are going to be going to the presidential election. Whether we win or lose is going to be is not really going to matter, because the series is going to come to an end anyway. It would make a lot of sense for us to lose, because then it would make a lot of sense for me to end the series, but we have to have a limit here, and we have done a lot in terms of development for Mexico. We still have a little bit more work to do, so we're going to go ahead and come over to health. Let's go ahead and recruit about let's say 300,000 medical personnel. That'll be 77 billion pesos for the sector. And we're going to go ahead and check over here. What do we have? So per hospital bed, I do believe that we have some hospitals we already built. Yeah, we did. We did have a long time that we spent trying to build these hospitals, and it did take a while. I remember I had a little bit of an issue with the labor whenever it came to the hospital construction project, but at the same time, I remember I was trying to build some like housing or internet projects, something like that. And I remember I was having a little bit of an issue, but we do have those free. We're going to go ahead and continue to focus this episode on rehabilitating substandard housing. This is going to be a great focus over the next 2 episodes. We're going to try to focus as much as we can. I think the failure of this series is that we were in 2022, we had 2.2 million public housing units that were dehabitated or poorly insulated and unsafe. Right now, we are at 1.8 million. We are at 1.7 million after this month. And if I can continuously try to get that going, I mean, I feel like that we could get it down to maybe 1.2 million by next year, but I don't think, or at least by summer, not even next year, but by summer, I feel like that it's kind of a failure for this series because I didn't concentrate enough on that. After this episode, I do believe, actually, we're going to go ahead and come over here. Let's go over to propose the annexation of a sovereign country. And let's go over to, could we annex Guatemala? Guatemala is usually up for annexation here. I like how Slovenia is up for annexation as well. Uruguay, Slovenia, Panama. We could annex Panama. I mean, that is an idea. We could also annex Haiti. Haiti is also another option for us to annex. I did want to build a military base over in the country. We don't have the opportunity to do that yet, but it would be a benefit for Mexico if we were to put a military base there, try to quell some of the issues over there. I know Kenya is actually sending 800 troops over to Haiti to help police under a UN mandate, but it kind of just it's, at least me, I'm trying to be the spearhead behind that instead of the Americans having to do everything around the continent. It's kind of like Mexico is trying to take up the mantle to be the next United States, even though we do have similar names, the United States of America and the United Mexican States. So we do have an update from the UN Secretary General. This is the 2030 objectives. Mr. President, Madam President, we are here to go over the final evaluation for your commitments regarding the CO2 emissions set for 2030, which should create a significant positive response in public opinion. You are beyond your set objectives. This is a good result. So that means that we held in line with our set objectives under the COP conferences every year. We had the objective that we are going to be below a certain amount of emissions by the year 2030, and we are still in line to hit carbon neutrality by 2040. At this rate, I do believe that we could hit carbon neutrality by 2035, or at least by 2037 if we really push for it. I probably, honestly, if I really invested a lot of money into it, which I'm not going to, we could definitely hit it probably within the next 2 or 3 years. I don't want to do that. We are already restraining enough right now on the on our businesses with the carbon tax. We are charging 8,000 pesos per metric ton of carbon dioxide. So that is a huge amount of money that people are just having to pay for even using certain appliances, or just like a tax for economic growth, basically. So it does kind of keep economic growth down a little bit. That way it doesn't control inflation. But at the same time, we have to commit ourselves to helping the planet as much as we can. But the biggest thing about it now is that what we could see is an increase in disasters. Usually after 2030, you do see an influx of disasters, mainly because of the world not really recognizing the threat that global warming poses. So what we may see in the future is deadly disasters, hurricanes that are killing thousands of people, earthquakes, mudslides, floods, everything of the sort. And maybe we won't be as affected as we did keep in line with our set COP objectives, but everyone else wasn't really as keen on trying to follow those commitments. So we'll see what happens, but we did keep in line with our commitments, and I'm very proud to say that Mexico is a proud champion of global warming, I'm very proud to say that Mexico is the leader in terms of fighting global warming, and I'm very, very, very happy to see where we are in terms of that. All right, and we are back. Let's go ahead and go over to space research. We're going to go ahead and create a permanent base on the moon, and we're going to call this the Vogel Flores Space. No, not space. We're going to call it the Vogel Flores Joint Base. Vogel Flores Lunar Base. And then this will be a 6-month mission. We're going to have this under research. We're going to go ahead and do we're going to do 100%. We're going to convince them to join up later. This will be a 5 trillion with a T. This will be a 5 trillion peso budget. This will be a gigantic, I mean, I'm meaning huge endeavor. This will be a multinational effort with many, many others that will be joining. We're not going to be footing the entire 5 trillion peso bill. 1.5 trillion pesos per year annually. 5-year funding, 7.6 trillion pesos. Minimum budget, 1.02 trillion pesos. Each one of those with a T. I'm not saying B, I'm not saying billion, we're saying trillion. That is hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars worth of funding for this project. We're going to go ahead and create this, and we're going to immediately go on a spree of inviting others to join this project. First one we are going to do is going to ask Brazil to join our endeavor into creating a lunar base. This will be the Global South's lunar base. This will be something that we can ask all of these other countries saying, hey, we want to join together to say that we're not going to pick between the United States. We're not going to pick between the People's Republic of China. We're not going to pick between Russia. We're going to all band together, and we're going to talk to each other, and we're going to cooperate with each other. This is the Global South Initiative. We're not going to be talking to any of the superpowers of the world, whether it's the United States or China. And I'm going to create a coalition of countries, including Australia, who will especially be able to develop some really good technology for us, Western technology that we could use in this vital project of ours. And another one we're going to invite is going to be South Africa. So they're going to be very vital for our project. So we're going to do Brazil, Australia, South Africa, and Mexico. I think maybe we could get India in on this, but I highly doubt it. Myanmar I would like, but I also haven't really tried to cooperate with them, mainly because of the entire dictatorship over there. Even though we have really good relations with them, I haven't really tried to interact with them, even so I'm not too excited about inviting them to such a project. The United Kingdom, I think we're gonna limit it to one Anglo country here. Creation of the Vogel Flores Lunar Base space program. And we have a lot of technology to develop for the project, so I'm very excited to see what we can do. We're also going to embark on a couple other space missions, and I do have another one that I would like to go for. All right, and so we met up with Brazil, and they did not have the option for me to invite them to the space program. I met up with Australia just now, and they said the same thing. We have a disease outbreak of plague in the Solomon Islands. 259 people have died from this disease outbreak. That is very unfortunate. Hopefully we don't see any such outbreak in Mexico. I'm really hoping that we do not have to deal with such an incident. Same thing in Senegal. 187 people have died. Usually what I do see as the game does go on, we do see a large increase in disease outbreaks further into the game. Something like H1N1, maybe even COVID or something like that would break out in one country, and then it would just continuously spread, and then you would have like a mini pandemic on your hands. South Africa, could we do something? Let's just offer him a coffee so we're not really wasting his time here, even though we basically are. We're we're just gonna what we ended up doing. I'm meeting up with Japan right now, and I'm going to invite them to the project. So I know there's a couple of people that are probably already giving proposals for this project. Hopefully they are sizable proposals, but we are inviting Japan on this, and I know they have a space program, so it might be because Australia, South Africa, and all these other countries that I invited do not have their own independent space launch facilities, programs, anything like that. So I think that might be wise. So let's go over here to Japan, and they do not give me the option either. So that is extremely unfortunate here. Immigration agreements. Do I have one? Could we actually do a immigration? Encourage Mexican workers to come and work in Japan for certain economic sectors. Let's go ahead and offer 20 billion pesos to Japan and offer a export agreement, a immigration agreement over there. Caillou Summit in 2030. This will be the first one of the decade. And let's go ahead and accept that, and we will be there next month. And our immigration agreement was refused, and that's probably because the amount of immigration going to and from Mexico and Japan is very minimal, so that's probably what it's based on rather than just the economic potential. It's more so based on immigration, how many people travel from each country to each country, and what could be done about increasing it. So I think that's usually what that offer would be based on. If you have a lot of immigration, then it'll be worth a lot more. If you have little immigration, you're probably not going to get anything out of it. I do have the plans of making a immigration tutorial. If you guys are interested in that, go ahead and leave your questions for that tutorial down in the comments below. And as we move on, let's go ahead and go over here. We're just continuously trying to reduce the insulated housing as much as we can over the course of the next 2 months or couple of months until this election, and we're going to continuously do this until we cannot. So 111 days until the election. The campaign starts at day 65. Justice, we go over here. We do have a crime increase right now. It's actually kind of leveling off. But what my reaction to this will be is going to be to build some prisons. So we're going to go ahead and employ the construction of 45 prisons at a cost of 18.1 billion pesos. So go over here, go over to environment. Let's see what else is going on here. We do have 54% of the Mexican economy or energy sector is renewable, which is completely run off of fusion nuclear power. And that's actually something I'm really interested to see. What will my energy policy look like as Ethiopia? Ethiopia is going to be a very big challenge because I'm not going to be able to replicate the energy policy that I usually do. I'm probably going to have to rely a lot more on solar and wind power than I'm actually going to be able to do on nuclear power, because nuclear power will eat such a large part of my budget that I probably won't be able to reliably purchase it until I am able to grow my economy. So I would probably have to avoid nuclear reactors over the course of like 5 to 7 years before I can actually buy even one reactor. By that time, I will probably already have discovered 3G EPR or even fusion power, and then at that point, then I can maybe even purchase one nuclear power plant. But at that point, I will probably be already focusing a lot on solar plants, on wind plants, and maybe even a couple of hydroelectric dams to try and build up my energy reserves. So my energy policy, I think one of the biggest challenges for Ethiopia that I'm going to be facing right on the onset is an energy crisis. So it will be very interesting to see how I am able to deal with the challenges of energy in Ethiopia. All right, and so we are nearing the end of this episode, and so let's go over here. We have a 2.3 trillion peso agreement with the United States. Let's go ahead and try to upgrade that to a political and economic agreements. Let's go ahead and also increase the interest rate for the Caillou, and they increase it 2.17, so it remains stationary about. And interestingly enough, we have not really been having that many issues with inflation, except the occasional, like, lowers down to like 3 or 4%, and then it kind of skyrockets up to 10%. It's kind of like every 2 years or something like that, we've been having issues with inflation. But I'm not too worried about it right now. One of the biggest disappointments right now, too, with Mexico is that our illiteracy rate hasn't even gone below 5%. It's been going down so slowly, and I've invested pretty much everything that I've had into education, into my budget. We fully fund our secondary and higher education training. We have 2.4 million teachers in Mexico. Our ratio right now is 14 for primary and 9 for secondary. Maybe if I had done this investment earlier, maybe we could be effectively getting more results, but maybe it was because of my lack of investment in the buildings. Maybe it was I feel like I could have had a better university portfolio by now. I feel like if I really was investing a lot, maybe we could have had like at least 500, less than 500. I'd say 250 to 500 universities by now. I feel like 57 universities up from 13 over the course of 8 years. That is a very small number, and I feel like that we failed in that regard. So it's going to be a lot of acknowledgement of failure over the next episode or two. So I hopefully, in the next 10 years, Mexico is going to be in a lot better place. Maybe over the next administration, hopefully Marina continues to take the ball down the road, and then we can we can come back and say, okay, this is what happened by 2040. Political and economic pact failed, and the wage level in your country is too low. And that is because we have to have at least, I believe it is $200 euros per month, because it is by a monthly rate. That is how it is calculated. It doesn't really tell you how it is calculated, but I have received confirmation from Eversim that the wage level is calculated monthly. We are at April 16th, 2030, so I'm going to go ahead and end this episode right here, and in the next episode will be the series finale. We are going to be dealing with the presidential election over the next episode, and then we are going to talk about this series. We're going to talk about the failures, we're going to talk about the successes, and we're going to be talking about everything that could have happened, could have been done better, and more. So next episode should be pretty long, and I will hopefully get that out pretty soon after I get this episode out. I will see you guys in that episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this series with me. I'm very excited that this series has been so successful, and I have you guys to thank. I definitely have my girlfriend to thank. She did a lot of help for me in understanding Mexico and understanding some of the culture. The intro, which I was told by some people is the best intro that I have ever made. I do handcraft my intros myself, and this one definitely had a lot of input from my girlfriend, and I very much thank her for her contributions to this series. This has been a very personal series for me and a very interesting series. I'm very happy to see how this series has turned out. Even if there is a lot of things that we could have done better, I am still very happy with how this series turned out. This is overall my longest series in the history of Power and Revolution, of me covering Power and Revolution. This is the longest series that I've had, not only since 2017, but in ever. This is longer than my original United States series whenever Donald Trump came president and I did a series on the United States for Power and Revolution. So I'm very excited to see how many episodes we've gotten in, how consistent I've pretty much been with this, even though there have been a couple of weeks where I have missed an episode or two. So I do apologize for that. A lot of things have been going on. But I'm very happy that you guys have been liking this, that you guys have been looking forward to every episode. I love the comments that you guys make where you say, wow, like I've been binge watching this. I can't wait to binge watch this, everything like that. I'm glad this is a binge watchable series for you guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support that you give me about this series. And I really hope that Ethiopia will live up to the standard that Mexico has set. And I'm very excited to see what challenges we can overcome in Ethiopia. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I'll see you guys next episode in the series finale of the United Mexican States. You guys will see a brand new tutorial to talk about what we have done, everything like that, and just something, maybe even an end outro that I can get for you guys as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching this series, and I'll see you guys next episode in the series finale of the United Mexican States. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.